Mastering process improvement tools. Proof of progress will be demanded, so beware. Where will documentation and records need to be maintained to support and substantiate the progress and outcomes of our operational excellence initiatives and process improvement efforts? Documentation and records play a vital role in supporting and substantiating the progress and outcomes of operational excellence initiatives and process improvement efforts. To ensure that all relevant information is captured and maintained, it is essential to identify the key documentation and record-keeping requirements for each stage of the process improvement lifecycle. Initial process mapping and analysis. During the initial process mapping and analysis phase, documentation and records should be maintained to support the following activities. Process maps, visual representations of the current process, highlighting inefficiencies, waste, and areas for improvement. These maps should be stored electronically, and version control should be maintained to track changes and updates. Process documentation, detailed descriptions of the current process, including roles, responsibilities, and key performance indicators, KPIs. This documentation should be stored in a centralized repository, such as a shared drive or document management system. Stakeholder input and feedback. Records of stakeholder input, feedback, and concerns should be maintained to ensure that all voices are heard and considered during the process improvement effort. Root cause analysis and solution identification. During the root cause analysis and solution identification phase, documentation and records should be maintained to support the following activities. Root cause analysis reports, documentation of the root cause analysis process, including the methods used, data collected, and conclusions drawn. These reports should be stored electronically and linked to the corresponding process maps and documentation. Solution evaluation and selection. Records of solution evaluation and selection criteria, including cost-benefit analysis, risk assessment, and feasibility studies. This documentation should be stored in a centralized repository and linked to the corresponding process maps and root cause analysis reports. Solution implementation and testing. During the solution implementation and testing phase, documentation and records should be maintained to support the following activities. Project plans and timelines. Detailed project plans, including milestones, deadlines, and resource allocation. These plans should be stored electronically and updated regularly to reflect changes in progress. Test plans and results. Documentation of test plans, including testing protocols, data collection methods, and results. These documents should be stored electronically and linked to the corresponding project plans and solution evaluation reports. Training and knowledge transfer. Records of training and knowledge transfer activities, including training materials, attendee lists, and feedback. This documentation should be stored in a centralized repository and linked to the corresponding project plans and test plans. Monitoring and sustaining improvements. During the monitoring and sustaining improvements phase, documentation and records should be maintained to support the following activities. Performance metrics and KPIs. Records of performance metrics and KPIs, including data collection methods, analysis, and reporting. These records should be stored electronically and updated regularly to reflect changes in progress. Continuous improvement opportunities. Documentation of continuous improvement opportunities, including ideas, suggestions, and areas for further improvement. This documentation should be stored in a centralized repository and linked to the corresponding performance metrics and KPIs. Lessons learned and knowledge sharing. Records of lessons learned, best practices, and knowledge sharing activities, including documentation of successes, challenges, and areas for improvement. This documentation should be stored in a centralized repository and linked to the corresponding performance metrics and KPIs. Centralized documentation and record keeping. To ensure that all documentation and records are maintained in a centralized and accessible location, an operational excellence team should consider implementing a document management system or a process improvement platform. These systems provide a structured approach to document management, version control, and access controls, ensuring that all stakeholders have access to the information they need to support and substantiate the progress and outcomes of operational excellence initiatives and process improvement efforts. In addition, the operational excellence team should establish clear roles and responsibilities for document management and record keeping, including document owners, responsible for creating, updating, and maintaining specific documents and records. Document managers, responsible for overseeing the document management system, ensuring that all documents and records are up to date, and providing access to stakeholders as needed. Record-keeping coordinators, responsible for maintaining accurate and complete records of process improvement efforts, including progress, outcomes, and lessons learned. By maintaining accurate, complete, and accessible documentation and records, organizations can ensure that their operational excellence initiatives and process improvement efforts are transparent, credible, and sustainable over time.